and welcome to another episode of End of Days Play. In this episode, we look at today's game between the Chennai Super Kings and Delhi Capitals, and we'll also offer up predictions for tomorrow's match between the Kolkata Knight Riders and the Sunrisers Hyderabad. So, Nags, sticking to the template, why don't you give us a quick lowdown of today's game?
So, sticking to the template of the tournament so far, the team winning the toss again inexplicably chose to field first. For all the results that have gone before this game, there was enough evidence that probably that strategy wasn't clicking, but somehow Chennai Super Kings still stuck to that. And dare I say that they still paid for that. Okay, so in the match summary, it was Delhi Capital who were invited to bat first. They had a good start, a very sound start. They were sedate to begin with and cautious, unlike the first game. And therefore, their openers, Prithvi Shaw and Shikhar Dhawan, saw off the good bowling from Josh Hazelwood and occasionally from Deepak Chahar, but then accelerated after the power play overs. And then at the 10-over mark, they were at 90 for no loss. So just when they were knocking at the 100-run partnership, Shikhar Dhawan lost his wicket, and then immediately Prithvi Shaw followed him, and that brought two new batsmen in Rishabh Pant and the captain Shreyas Iyer, who could not necessarily accelerate to their liking, but they still kept the tempo going and eventually finished with 175 for the loss of 3 wickets in their 20 overs. In the bowling for Chennai Super Kings, it was Piyush Chawla who admirably picked those 2 wickets after having gone for a few runs in his first over and ended with 2 wickets for 33 runs. And then it was Sam Curran, who's been the surprise package this season for Chennai, who took the other wicket for 27 runs. So it was a gettable total for Chennai, but in their chase, again, they lacked the tempo in the beginning, and Vijay and Watson took some time to start scoring runs freely. And when Watson tried to force the issue, he got out. That resulted in a slide that Chennai could never recover out of, and they could never get into a tempo to actually be in the reckoning at any stage during the chase. It was only at 14th over that they actually caught up with a six runs per over run rate and eventually finished with 131 for the loss of 7 wickets, with a sizable contribution again coming from Faf du Plessis, but not necessarily ever threatened to take the game away from Delhi. And Delhi's bowling actually came together. It was a joy watching them, and their opening burst from Kahiso Rabada and Andrik Notier was pacey, and they shared 5 wickets between them. And the Delhi spinners also were much more effective than the Chennai ones. And Akshar Patel also chipped in with a single wicket. So all in all, Delhi Capitals finished the game with a 44-run win, and that leaves Chennai with a lot of thinking to do.
Thanks, Nags. Brilliant summary as always. Let's head into the talking points. What do we have at number 5 today?
Number 5, it would be the number of catches that were dropped today. Somehow the ball seemed to be following Shimron Hetmeyer for some reason, and he ended up dropping 2 of the catches that came his way. And then before that, Prithvi Shaw dropped a tough one. None of those chances, thankfully, costed Delhi Capitals much. But you tend to wonder, is it really the rustiness of the players, or is it the playing conditions with all those electrical screens that simulate the effect of the crowd that is actually causing a hindrance to the viewing angle of the players? Yesterday, we had Virat Kohli drop 2 sitters. So this is something that we are seeing repeatedly now, team after team.
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to add is, as a fan, as a viewer, it doesn't make for great viewing. So here's hoping that the standard of catching improves, for the rest of the tournament. At number 4, we're going to be looking at the Delhi batting tempo today. So I thought they maintained an excellent batting tempo right throughout the game, even though they probably didn't have the finish that they wanted. Prithvi Shaw and Shikhar Dhawan laid a fantastic foundation. They put on 94 for the first wicket, as you mentioned. And when Rishabh Pant and Shreyas Iyer came in, they would have ideally wanted to probably get to 200. Despite the fact that they actually had a slowdown, they still got almost 9 runs per over. And the total was enough to see off CSK today. But again, from their own batting point of view, I think they would have wanted to get to 200 and put that big total on the board.
Yes, I agree. Maybe they were a 15 or 20 run short in their eventual total. but they were probably cautious because of what had happened in their previous outing, where they lost their top order cheaply, going all guns blazing. So they had a cautious start and they probably had a strategy. But having said that, it just goes to show the depth they have in their Indian batting talent. And just with about 5 runs of contribution from Stoinis, all the runs were scored by Indian batsmen. So that was heartening to see, and that probably goes to show the depth that Delhi has in their batting hands.
So what are we looking at number 3 today?
Next up, we have the Chennai batting effort. And talking of Delhi's tempo, it is probably equally important to talk about Chennai's batting tempo as well. It was something that never really took off. They had a cautious start again, but then Watson tried to force the issue and then perished very soon. And then things never really looked up from there. So it was Duplessis who was doing the usual thing of accumulating and then probably accelerating, trying to accelerate right in the end. But you knew when they were 84 at the end of 14 overs is when they actually reached the 6 runs per over mark. You knew the chase was completely out. And it didn't matter at what order Dhoni batted. They somehow needed a brisk start, a more powerful start at the top. And I dare say, I think the loss of Raina is kind of beginning to hurt Chennai. But I'm sure with Raidu coming back in the next game, a few things will be rectified. But they obviously have a lot to think about, a lot to talk about as to how to approach the chase going forward.
Yes, and I think they're sorely lacking some middle order ballast, and I would continually like to see them sending Sam Curran up the order, because he's really someone. Even if he scores a quick fire 20 of 10, it still provides a much needed boost and introduces a bit of chaos in the opposition. At number 2, we're going to be looking at the contrasting approach taken by the spinners from both teams. We saw that the CSK spinners were actually firing it in. They were almost throwing darts, both Piyush Chawla and Ravindra Jadeja, and they were not flighting the ball that much. They were not giving it a lot of air. They were just pushing it in, and that probably made it a little easier for the batsmen to play then. In contrast, when you look at the Delhi bowlers, they considerably slowed it down. And Amit Mishra has always been someone who, gives the ball a lot of air. There's a lot of revs when he tries, when he lets those, leg breaks come out of his hand. And we saw that how hard it was for the Chennai batsmen to get them away. You probably would have suspected that after the difficult, overs bowled by the fast bowlers, Chennai would have been fancying the chances against the Delhi spinners. But the way the Delhi spinners bowled today, they gave them no opportunity. I think it was brilliant to watch.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think the art of spin bowling actually comes to the fore when you give that flight, when you actually slow it up, and it probably allows the ball to dip. But to be fair, to give that benefit of doubt to Chennai, they are playing their third game in their third venue. And in their last game in Sharjah, they tried giving the air, they tried giving the loop, and they were taken to the cleaners by Sanju Samson. So probably they were reluctant to do the same thing, and they were probably that prompted them to probably go quicker through the air and fire in those darts. But on this wicket, probably going slow and giving it more air was the way to go.
What do we have at number 1 today, Nax?
I would like to take the attention to the opening burst by the pacemen of Delhi Capitals. The opening bowlers from South Africa, Kahiso Rabada and Heinrich Nortje. They are quite pacey and they are quite a sight to watch when they are in full flow. And coming back from a period of no cricket, they are completely refreshed and raring to go. And therefore, you could see right through both of them hitting the mid 140s. And at one stage, Delhi could even have two slip fielders in a T20 game in the first over of Rabada. So that was quite a sight. And it is paying rich dividends because now they shared 5 wickets in this game, and they were among the wickets in the previous game as well. The combination of Rabada and Nokia is something to look forward to for the rest of the tournament as well. So it's a great buy by Delhi.
Yeah, he's turning out to be a shrewd buy so far. He was also probably for South Africa the find of their summer last year when they played against England and Australia. And it's quite interesting to see an Aussie coach, picking two South African pace bowling spearheads in his team. So that's a wrap on the key talking points for the day. Who is your player of the match?
I, for one, disagree with the commentators panel on air who picked Prithvi Shaw. Indeed, he played a very useful innings, but I think the match was completely secured by the overall bowling effort by the Delhi Capitals. So, if I'm allowed, instead of picking a single player of the match, I would actually pick the overall Delhi bowling unit as the players of the match.
You know what? This is our show, so I'll allow you your pick. So that's fine. I'm not going to debate that. Heading into the next section, which is the key moment of the day, and it's something that we touched upon earlier. I think the stage of the innings just after the Delhi Pacers finished the initial burst, and when the spinners came on to bowl, Akshay Patel and Amit Mishra, I think that was the key stage of the game. I think Chennai would have fancied their chances against them. They didn't get an opportunity. The spinners bowled really well, and I think Chennai basically lost the game there. Let's take a quick look at the team standings at the end of week 1 of the tournament. Delhi Capitals are currently top of the table with 4 points. Moving on to the fun fact of the day. So, again, a commentary on air where I think Faf du Plessis tried to play a dill scoop, and Mark Nicholas, who was on air, he said that's not the dill scoop, that's the faf fluff, because he didn't connect properly.
It was probably made up on the spot by the commentator Mark Nicholas, and it was a terrible attempt at playing a scoop. He almost hit his own helmet grill and nearly fell over. And therefore it was absolutely not just rhyming, but very apt for the moment that he fluffed it. So it was a faf fluff, and it was indeed very funny.
Moving on, quick predictions for tomorrow's game. We have the Kolkata Knight Riders facing off against the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Both teams have lost their opening games of the tournament. What's your pick, Nags?
I'm going with Sunrisers Hyderabad for tomorrow.
I'm going for KKR. I hope to see Nagarkoti in the game tomorrow. Well, that brings a wrap to today's episode. If you like this video, please like and share it with your friends. Please subscribe to our channel to keep more videos coming your way, and do let us know what we're doing well and what we could improve on. Thank you for watching. Have a brilliant day ahead.